Aisha goes after a different prey: Boko Haram militants.
I gravitate to children because of their exuberance.
3 years, 3 weeks, and 2 days today, they have come back, and that is a big deal.
Some of the things she talks about in her interview are just, they're beautiful. She talks about really wanting peace in her nation. I think she's a story that people are going to remember.
Someday, tranquility will settle upon Borno State in northeast Nigeria. The ordinary rhythms of life in the rural areas will return, as will the everyday bustle of the city. But for now, a restless tension lurks beneath the surface. Not a moment goes by without the threat of violence. Without the fear that the militant Islamic group Boko Haram might unleash an attack. A grim reminder of a conflict still to be resolved. A country's struggle with extremism. An unfinished journey from evil.
So Ibrahim, what was the journey for you that really, that really stands out when we think about the making of this film?
The journey for us started with the discovery of those 18 hours of raw footage from Boko Haram. It was brutality at its worst. The natural thing that came out after that was to do something, that shows how people are coping with this kind of brutality from Boko Haram.
I remember when I first started to work with you, when you found the video, I just remember the visceral reaction when we first looked at it. I mean, it was terrifying. One of the metaphors that we used for the film was the Sambisa forest. We use it in the beginning of the film because everybody talks about the Sambisa forest, but nobody really understands what it visually looks like. So, I really thought that was a really important way to get people to understand Boko Haram's haven, where where they're very well known for taking the Chibok girls and other atrocities.
Nigeria. Rich in oil and natural gas. A nation seeking to present itself as the image of modern Africa. But a country that is far from united. Splitting the north from the oil-rich south are cultural and economic fault lines that date far back to Nigeria's colonial past. In the predominantly rural and traditionally Muslim northeast, that fault line is fragile. Although Nigeria collects billions of dollars selling its oil each year, more than 60% of Nigerians live in poverty, many on less than $2 a day. In the northeast, the poverty rate is even higher.
We're speaking about northeastern Nigeria that is really one of the most impoverished and marginalized regions of the country. This is a region that had one of the lowest literacy rates in the country, one of the highest infant mortality rates in Nigeria. So the nature of governance was really poor to begin with, and people were frustrated in seeing the growing levels of inequality in this community.
Poverty and inequality, along with neglect by those with political power, helped sow a rebellious brand of Islam in the northeast. Originally, the group was peaceful and its message inclusive.
What they preached was, we have an alternative system. If the system you believe in does not value you and leaves you out, we will not do that. We are more inclusive, we will take care of you, we are doing Allah's will, and we will define our own society, an alternative society that is just and good. So that was very appealing, especially for people who felt left out.
But eventually, this alternative society split. The leader of its dominant faction wanted a pure form of Islam and an outright insurrection against the government. His name, Muhammad Yusuf. Yusuf was intelligent and charismatic, but bent on confrontation. People began calling his movement Boko Haram. Literally, Western education is forbidden. Although the group disavowed the name and still does, it captured Yusuf's essential beliefs. He preached that Western values were undermining Islam, and he called for a holy war. In her part-time job as a seamstress, she works with hands and feet in creative concentration, at peace, away from the violence that prowls in the countryside.
You know, what we wanted to do to contrast the video that you had, because we thought it was really important to put that in the documentary, because the real basis for the film is the footage you found. That's really how, how we got the idea to make the documentary. And I wanted to find characters in Nigeria that were resilient and that were real role models, because we wanted to juxtapose the good against the evil. And one of the most amazing stories we found was of Aisha Gumbi Bakari, and they call her the Queen Hunter. And
getting Aisha was a big challenge, when we tried to get her in the Sambisa forest. You remember, we had to go all the way into those danger zones, I would say, and but it was worth it because Aisha was really incredible.
The Sambisa forest, a thick jumble of thorny scrub and scattered trees spread across 5 northern states. A portion was set aside as a game reserve, but its once abundant wildlife has been depleted by war. Now parts of the Sambisa are Boko Haram's sanctuary, a vast area of danger for anyone who dares enter. In a village nearby, Aisha Bakari Gombi lives with her family. In her part-time job as a seamstress, she works with hands and feet in creative concentration, at peace, away from the violence that prowls in the countryside. But the rhythm of the sewing machine is only one facet of her world. Aisha knows the Sambisa well. It was there as a young girl that she was initiated in a long-standing family tradition.
Iyayena mafarauta ne, su ma iyayen nawa iyayensu ma mafarauta ne. Ni kuma ba na so al'adarmu na gargajiya ya bace ni ma shine dalilin da yasa nake.
Boko Haram raided her village 3 times before the Nigerian government allowed people to fight back on their own. Now, instead of hunting antelope, baboons, and birds, Aisha goes after a different prey: Boko Haram militants. She is part of a group of hunters who go out in search of insurgents, ready to fight if the situation arises.
Gaskiya Boko Haram dai ba mutum bane. To Boko Haram ne ya isa zai kama mutum da ransa, ya kama shi ya yanka shi da zarton da ake yanka katako. Boko Haram zai kama mace da ciki, ya yanka ta, ya fidda da a cikin cikinta, ya jefar da shi. Boko Haram zai kama yaro jinjiri, ya karya wuyansa ya jefar, ya kama yara ƙanana ya murda wuya ya jefa a kogi.
At the start of their patrol, the hunters take part in spiritual rituals. They believe it will protect against enemy bullets and other dangers in the forest.
Akwai abubuwa irin namu na gargajiya waɗanda muke amfani da su. Wani muna amfani da shi don mu sha, wani mu shafa, wani mu sheƙa, wani mu yi hayaƙi. har ma wanka akwai. To mukan yi su ne kafin mu fita. To ai dajin dama shi muka riga muka saba. Babu wani abun da yake ba mu tsoro a cikin daji. Duk lokacin da muka shirya in za mu fita ko dare ko rana ne shiganta muke yi babu fargaba.
Aisha and her team not only search for insurgents, they're also on the lookout for captives fleeing from Boko Haram camps. Their stories can be heartbreaking.
Akwai matar da muka bari yanzu haka tana kam namu mu a inda muka yi sansani mu a cikin garin Lasa. Suka zo sace ta da yara 6 da aka tafi da su aka je aka ajiye su a can sun kai watanni suna wajen. Ranar da Allah ya taimake ta ya bata nasarar za ta gudu ta dawo. To su wayannan yan ƙanana guda biyu, ɗaya ta goya ɗaya kuma ta ɗauka ta rataya a kafaɗanta. Haka ta haƙura da wayancan saura guda 4 ta ɗauko biyun ta kamo hanya ta dawo.
Aisha's efforts fighting Boko Haram earned her the respect of fellow villagers. They call her the Queen Hunter.
Gaskiya ba zan iya sani ba don an kuɓutar da yawa. Na kwanakin nan ko kuma in ce na shekaran jiya mun kuɓutar da 9.
Later that day, Aisha and her band apprehended 3 Boko Haram fighters. They delivered them to authorities by truck. A commotion of curious villagers parading behind them. Success like this inspires her to continue the work, despite the danger.
Ani dai ina son duniya ta sani. Aikin da muke yi dai mu aiki ne na ceto da nema wa ƙasar mu zaman lafiya. Zaman lafiya nake son wa Najeriya. Ina so in ga Najeriya ta zauna lafiya kamar yadda sauran ƙasashe suke zaune lafiya.
So 106 girls out of 219 that we've been waiting for 3 years, 3 weeks and 2 days today, they have come back. And that is a big deal.
So we were in the northeast of Nigeria trying to get Aisha and all the other actors in the northeast, especially in Borno State, where Boko Haram has its roots. And it was a very dangerous place. Some of the places getting in there was really difficult.
Right, and when I came to Abuja, we were going to try and get a lot of the official interviews there. And we spent a lot of time, talking to government officials. And one of the things that we wanted to focus on was de-radicalization. We thought that was a really important story because it's about the moving forward of Nigeria and the things that they're doing to really work with the former Boko Haram soldiers. And we finally did go to a prison. It took us several days, and we did get into a prison.
3 years after Boko Haram kidnapped the Chibok girls, Buki Shonibare is still campaigning for their release. She posts photos on social media marking the days of their captivity, unwilling to let their plight fade from public memory. Even during her daily routines, the girls are never far from her thoughts.
Thank you. My major fear is by the time we have these girls come back, inevitably so, at least for the number that can come back, what life would they live for the rest of their lives? They've watched amputations happen in front of them. They've watched killings. They've watched draining of blood. They've watched airstrikes. They've watched people being buried in shallow graves. They've been abused. Some of them come back with children. How do you take those memories away from them?
While campaigning for the girls' release, Buki is battling the militants on a second front, a brazenly symbolic one.
The Boko Haram faction is talking.
She launched a charity project called School in a Bag. It delivers backpacks loaded with writing materials to children who don't have them and instructional kits to teachers.
The best way to win against those that have abducted your children is to use other children as a perfect example and a perfect testimony and representation of a better life that can happen because education is there. We are telling Boko Haram that you lost, and we are winning.
April 14, 2017 marked the 3rd anniversary of the Chibok kidnappings. At that time, only 21 Chibok girls had been freed. Then on May 7th, 1,120 days after being taken, 82 more girls were released. Elation erupted at Unity Square in Abuja, where Bring Back Our Girls campaigners have kept their long protest vigil.
The fact that we can have 82 of our girls come back is a validation of everything we have been doing here every day. So 106 girls out of 219 that we've been waiting for 3 years, 3 weeks, and 2 days today, they have come back. And that is a big deal.
News reports soon revealed that the release was part of a swap. In the exchange, the Nigerian government had freed several Boko Haram militants. But for Bukky, no price is too high to pay for the girls' freedom.
For the girls, it means life to them. There was a life they had before they were abducted. They were going to school. To them, it means I am coming back to civilization. I am coming back to life. I can breathe. I can sleep with my 2 eyes closed.
Even in the midst of adversity, people are able to continue and move on. People do not stop because of a bomb blast.
So what was amazing about making this film is that it was really hard to get a story arc. It was really hard to really know exactly what the film was going to be, but we knew that the characters were really important. And we had so many names that we looked at and so many different ideas about what it was going to be.
But right from the beginning, you had that word, journey from evil.
Journey from evil.
Yeah,
because I felt that the film was really a journey from evil. I felt that for Nigeria, this really is a journey from evil.
And especially for the characters that were profiled in the film.
And they became bigger than life, and then it became more complicated than we ever thought. I mean, the time it took to get these people on camera, with the danger of shooting in Nigeria.
When we were doing the UNICEF clinic in Maiduguri, there were 2 suicide bombings. There was an ice boy that you are trying to profile with Fati.
One of the things that we found out while making the film is it's not only women who are, abused by Boko Haram, but many boys are conscripted and many boys are taken from villages. She photographs children, so we wanted to try and do that, to document her. And the day we were about to film it was another major attack.
In Maiduguri.
But when we talk about her in her profile where she's going and photographing kids, I found that really moving about her. She really, it's a picture into their soul, and I think a picture into life in Maiduguri.
Yeah, and they say a picture tells a story.
The conflict with Boko Haram casts northeastern Nigeria as a dark, dangerous place overcome with suffering and need. Months after returning home to Maiduguri in Borno State, Fati Abubakar set about to change that image, armed with her camera.
We're usually bombarded with images of, people, dead bodies on the street, sites of bomb blasts, some children in the hospital. It's just a complete, portrayal where you just think that there are no survivors of this conflict. There are different kind of stories that I felt that were completely neglected, and I wanted people to see that yes, Borno State is struggling, but there's still people living there and they're continuing their lives.
Fatty posts her photography on Bits of Borno, a website she's created. For many, it's become a source of inspiration and renewal. She has over 7,000 followers on her Facebook page, 9,000 on Instagram. What they see is another side of Borno State, a proud region showcasing the rich diversity of Nigeria's people.
I have to be highly inclusive in this visual storytelling, so I try as much as possible to document all of the tribes in the community, ensure that it represents the whole of Borno State. And the Shuar tribe are a very beautiful, very colorful tribe. The portraits I do, I feel are, quintessential people of Borno State, and then I ask them questions about how life is. And then when I do a lot of the interviews, I transcribe and then I post the images on social media together with the narratives.
In her regular job, Fatty works as a communications officer for UNICEF. Immersed in the Northeast's humanitarian crisis, she searches for moments of compassion and caring.
So I do a lot of human interest stories and photo essays, and I document all of UNICEF's activities so that we can post on social media. UNICEF has come in and done a lot for our people, and for me it's especially fulfilling to see that.
She's journeyed to areas where the war left its scars, looking deeper to document how people have survived the insurgency.
And what I've learned is that even in the midst of adversity, people are able to continue and move on. People do not stop because of a bomb blast. I gravitate to children because of their exuberance. Even when you find them in a situation that is really bad, they're very bubbly and very lively, and that kind of keeps me going. I photograph a lot of street children and homeless children as well, and a lot of children that are escaping Boko Haram. You see them mostly by the river or under the bridge living on their own. But for these children, usually you kind of feel traumatized by their experience. You would wish for them to have a great future, but it will take a lot for them to have the kind of life that you would want for them. I just want people to know that, Boko Haram is a small percentage of people that are wreaking havoc on a community, and the majority of people from Borno State are very peace-loving, very hospitable, very highly intelligent individuals. We're the same as every average Nigerian. We just want to live our lives.
If Nigeria is to heal from the war, the country must recover the bonds of humanity within its people. One picture at a time, Fatty is bringing that humanity to light.